So glad to be here with you guys today. So I'm Collins. I'm actually one of the senior recruiters here at Delta State, along with Mr. Avis Neal, but he is actually traveling today. So I actually graduated from Delta State in 2009 and worked a little bit in food service, and then had the opportunity to come to Delta State 3 years ago, and here I am. But to give you guys a background of Delta State, we are a small university in Cleveland, Mississippi. We have a little under 3,000 students, but that is such a huge advantage to these students because, these students are not a number here. They're actually, they're known by name. The professors and instructors know them. We have a student to professor ratio of 13-1. So you have those small class sizes. Also, we're one of the most affordable universities in the state of Mississippi, just right under $8,000 for our tuition. So it's very affordable. Any questions, that you have for us, please let us know. And we're always here to help.
Okay. That actually was a great introduction because it leads me right into what I wanted to talk to you about first. Right. For a student that is interested in applying, can you walk me through the admissions process? What's the application look like? When does the application typically open? And is there an admissions application priority date or deadline?
Absolutely. So we always encourage students, the sooner the better. There is no deadline. There is no start date. So they can, a freshman in high school could actually go ahead and apply, as long as they choose the right entry term. So, but those are available to them, so they can apply at any time. And also we have deltastate.edu, that is our website, but we actually, a couple of years ago, we created our own admissions hub, which is gotodsu.net. This hub it's everything that a student or parent, counselor, teacher needs. It's got all the information as far as scholarships, the admission process, things of that nature. But the application process, we do twice a year, we do an application day. There are some occasions where we will have a promo code. So at the end of the application, there is a $25 fee. But like I said, we offer those application days that the student will not have to pay the $25 fee.
I'm assuming those are like publicized and marketed, so people know when they're coming.
Yes, absolutely. We usually do one in April. We do an April Fool's theme, and then we also do one in October with a Halloween theme. So that's kind of the times that we do them. So yeah.
Is it April of their senior year or April of their junior year, and they can start applying early, or does it matter?
Anytime. Like I said, a freshman could come in and do the application day. I mean, we just encourage everyone to jump on those so that you don't have to pay the application fee, because that's just one more fee you have to pay.
Oh yeah, and so that's just, if I am coming in, I need to know I'm coming in fall of 2022 or 2023 or whatever.
Right. Just have the correct entry term.
Are there any discussions right now with being test optional, or you're still having to have an ACT on file?
We are, and in fact, we're getting back more normal. Now, there are certain ways that we can go about it. Let's say a student does not, meet the 16 on the ACT with a 2.5 GPA. We actually have the Accuplacer test, which the student can actually take the Accuplacer test at home online.
That's neat.
Yes. So that's kind of what we started during COVID, because the students couldn't get here. And of course, we did waive the ACT for a little bit, but now we're kind of getting back into it. So, but if the student is having trouble or, can't meet that, we can certainly put them in contact with our Student Success Center to get that lined up for them.
But the more traditional, easiest route for a student is just to submit the ACT score as part of their admissions application.
Absolutely, yes.
Is admissions taking the super score or highest composite?
So we actually, only for admission, we do super score, but for scholarships, we do not super score.
So, that was my next question.
Right.
So scholarships, it's going to be the highest composite from a single test.
Absolutely. Yes.
Speaking of scholarships and ACT scores, is there a matrix that at a certain point that with this ACT and this GPA, I'm guaranteed to get at least some kind of academic scholarship, or is there more of a holistic process?
So we actually have, so it's from where we actually lowered the ACT score for the Opportunity Scholarship. We're actually going from a 20 to a 25 with a 3.0 GPA. That is 25% of tuition taken care of.
It's going from a 20 to a 25 or 25
yes,
to 20
to a 25.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then for our Achievement Scholarship, which is 50% of tuition taken care of, it's a 26 to a 28 with a 3.25 GPA.
Okay.
Then for 100% tuition taken care of, it is a 29 to a 36 with a 3.25 GPA.
Okay. And then I would assume the only people that watch this will probably be our Mississippi schools, but is that only for Mississippi residents? Those three categories?
No, it is not.
So you could get 50% of tuition, like out of state tuition covered if you meet those academic requirements. Okay.
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, I'm glad you said out of state because we are zero out of state fees as well.
Okay.
So
all students are treated as in-state residents for tuition purposes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's unique.
It is unique. Everybody's like, what?
Yes.
Like, yeah, we do that.
When I was an admissions counselor, I wish I would have had that to work with. That would have been a great tool in my toolbox. I know you and I have talked before in previous conversations that you always encourage a scholarship application to be submitted early. Is there still a separate application, and is it still very important that students get that in early?
Well, we basically, and for the ACT scholarships that we just went over, as long as the student will mark receive scholarship on their Delta State application,
okay,
then they will be fine. They don't have to do a separate application. If it is for our Statesman Scholarship or well, it is just Statesman Scholarship, there is a process which is on gotodsu.net. They'll do a 2-minute video. They'll write a 500 word essay, and then a small resume. But all of that information is on gotodsu.net.
Okay. And is it still like early November when you encourage those to get in?
Yes. So we don't have the exact date, but it's going to be early November. And then that's our priority deadline. And then our final deadline will be around May 1st, somewhere first week of May. That's what we're looking at.
And then any unique scholarships at Delta State? You actually just mentioned one, that the out of state is not charged to students, which really isn't a scholarship, but that's a unique financial aid aspect. And then Statesman, is that the kind of competitive, only competitive process?
It is very competitive, and it's a full ride. So we have a lot of students, going for it. And I will say that our scholarships are very limited. So I can't stress it enough, the sooner the better,
Okay. And that's even with just the ACT ones. The earlier
Absolutely,
you can apply.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. With scholarships, I know in the last few years, there seems to be an increase in schools that are requiring the FAFSA to be eligible for any financial aid. They just want to have a FAFSA on file. Is that a requirement?
It is, yes.
Okay.
We want you to have that completed, along with the application process, just so we can get everything taken care of, with financial aid and, in that aspect. So yes.
So even for ACT scholarships, they need to have one on file.
Right.
Is there a priority date y'all want that by?
It's not. And I even double checked with financial aid just to, cover all the bases.
Just to confirm.
No. Right. Yeah. I said, I'm pretty sure, but I just want to make sure. But they
before they start school in August, we want a financial aid on file.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And then since you are only taking the highest composite for scholarship consideration, is there a last ACT test date that a student could test and then submit that score for scholarship consideration? There's
not a date. Let's say John Smith has accepted the 50% scholarship, ACT scholarship. Well, let's say he takes it again and he gets a 30. He can actually, if we have a scholarship available, the excellent scholarship, he can actually apply for that as well,
Okay.
And
that's all the way through, like they could technically do that over the summer after graduation.
Absolutely.
If it's still available.
First week of school. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
That
before
if it's
school.
available is probably
If it's
the
available,
piece.
yes.
Okay.
Right.
Another question we get asked often from students is they're very concerned about their housing process. So when does housing open? Is it first come, first serve on the housing applications being completed? Is there a housing application deadline? They want to know all about housing, which I can't blame them. You want to know where you're going to live.
Yeah, you do want to know where
That's
you're gonna live.
important.
It is.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So our housing application, there is not a deadline.
Okay.
And our director, Julie Jackson, she's awesome to work with, with the students and everything. But, we also tell them to go ahead and as soon as possible, the sooner the
Apply.
better. Because we do have multiple dormitories and we want to make sure that the students, get their first pick. But we also this is a unique thing that we have going on. We just started this year and it was a little bit due to COVID. But we're actually offering single rooms at the double occupancy rate. So you don't have to you will not be charged extra for a single room.
Okay.
So, we have
I feel like y'all are about to
kids.
see a spike in that.
I know that's exactly. I mean, we have some transfers coming in, that would rather live off campus, but we've won them over because we're like, look, you can live here on campus, and you can live by yourself. That's and so we have. It's been really good for us. So
Yeah, that's really cool, especially for a campus that might be trying to increase some of that residential
Right.
feel to the campus.
Exactly.
You may have mentioned this and I just missed it, but is there a date that the housing application opens, or as soon as they apply, can they go complete a housing application?
As soon as they have been admitted to Delta State with a 900 number, they have to have a 900 number and they have to have paid their $75 housing fee in order to be assigned a residence hall.
Okay.
So this, like I said, the sooner the better. And once they have that, and it is first come, first serve. So, as soon as they've taken care of everything with us, then they can, move along in the process with housing.
Okay. That's one we're always asked, but how does housing work here? How
Yes.
does housing work here? And we try really hard, but we don't know how housing works in all of the universities in the state. We're like, we're going to need to call someone on
That's
that.
exactly right. And that's the best thing to say.
You probably have to call too. I remember I did in my
Oh, yeah.
admissions days. I was like, I'm going to have to call housing for that one.
Exactly.
And I know I'm familiar with a couple of things. There's the aviation program, there is the swimming team, which is very unique. But can you talk to me about some of the academic programs or just student life programs that might be really unique to Delta State's campus for a student that's looking?
Yes. Like you just said, we have our commercial aviation. We are the only commercial aviation program in the state of Mississippi. So, and it is just growing. I mean, they can't find enough instructors because of the flight time slots. So it's a huge program. We also have our nursing program, which is phenomenal. Education. We were founded as a teacher's college. So education is huge. Also business, arts and sciences, math, psychology. But our swimming and diving team, it brings in a lot of diversity. I mean, we have, and even our soccer, and tennis teams, and athletics, we have students coming from all over the world. And so that's really, we're proud of that, and, encourage students to go and, with other organizations, they can get involved in. And we have Greek organizations, political and religious organizations that students can get involved in. And also, if you have an idea of an organization that you want to start, you can actually start that with our student life. They will actually fund that for you, and you can create your own organization here. So
you're never going to be bored then.
You will not be
shouldn't
bored.
be.
You shouldn't be.
Okay. Another thing that I've tried to ask the other admissions reps this year is, we all know the last year has been very different than any other time in history, and it's been very difficult with education, and then just normal life has changed. I do think, like you said, some things are getting back to normal on college campuses, but as students are coming back and maybe coming back to kind of more of the full in-person on-campus experience. What are things that Delta State has in place to help students that transition and maybe have a little bit of a tough time? So do y'all have tutoring centers, math labs? Do you have counseling, physical health centers there's on campus where they can actually go to the doctor? What are just some of those things that are outside of the classroom that students have as resources?
Right. And actually, you just named all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, especially, we've always had that, but I think that students are really, with this last year and a half, I mean, it's like, okay, wait, I really need to use these resources, So our Student Success Center, Dr. Poole and Dr. Riddle do a fantastic job with our tutoring centers. They have computer labs. I mean, it's just an all hands on deck kind of situation. They're there for the students and they want to, support them and help them.
Okay.
Our counseling center is also in our infirmary. So it's all right there together. So, students do get sick. We can take care of them, and also we have the counseling center for them too.
Okay. Anything like new or exciting going on with campus? You mentioned the housing. That's a really big new thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that back to our whole team. They'll be
Great.
interested to know that.
Yes.
But I know last time I was on campus, there was a whole renovation of the cafeteria happening. So it sounds like y'all are kind of doing a good bit of renovations and upgrading and things.
Yes. In fact, one of our women's residence halls, it's the oldest one, Lawler Harkins. I actually lived in it when I was here. So did my mother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So they're actually redoing the whole dorm. So we'll actually have those new and available to our sororities and also students that, are not in a sorority, but those will be really nice. And also just, we're going to be all on campus. It's face-to-face classes. But, with all that said, yes, we are getting back to normal, but we are being very cautious and very safe. We want everybody to be taken care of and to feel safe. That's the most important thing. So.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of, after the last year of isolation, just the feeling safe and feeling okay. And
right.
That'll be important. Anything else that you think a high school counselor or maybe a student that's watching in a classroom, if they haven't considered Delta State or they don't know much, or they just need to know about the school that
Absolutely.
You want to share?
Now that we're back and we're having group tours, please come and visit us. We want you. We want group tours. So counselors and teachers, you want to bring a class, we would love to have you. I tell students, you don't know where you want to go unless you've set foot on that campus to see if it's the right fit for you. We'll do everything we can to accommodate you and make sure that you get the best experience. But we want you to come here and we want you to show you what we can offer you.